Hello everyone and welcome to my sort of review and opinion on Gran Turismo 7. It got asked throughout the 3-day, 12-hour streams that we did. I suspect it's going to be asked going forward as well. So I've put it all together into this nice little video. I'm going to obviously zoom out now and you'll have Gran Turismo 7 in the background from the things we're going to talk about. Now I've sort of reviewed this and looked at it as you progress through the game and looked at it in that perspective because that's easier one, and then you can get an idea of my feelings behind that. So we're going to have a like and a dislike counter, and we'll lob them on the video as well. And going straight into it, we're actually going straight into a dislike here, which is the music rally for the intro. I feel like this was not needed in the slightest, really. I mean, I jumped on the game beforehand because I didn't want to do the music rally. I heard about it, and I wanted to get rid of it for the copyright reasons, of course. But I didn't understand it. Like, I'm just driving around. I didn't realize the driving aids were on, so I had to do it again anyway, because I went on the wrong account, as you know. And I don't see anything positive, and I've not read anything positive about it. In fact, the only things I've read are the negative side of this, being forced to do something before you start the game. And I think it leaves a little bit of a sour taste in some people's mouths who are potentially new to Gran Turismo, because they just want to get straight into the game, not necessarily do a music rally. But I do understand Music Rally. I'm not saying get rid of Music Rally, because I think the fact that mode exists is good. It's good for the people who want to try it. I just don't think forcing people to do it is very good. So, yeah, that's my first dislike. But now we're going to get into the likes very quickly, because there is a lot of these. So, the fact you have to buy and pick a car from the used dealer is awesome. It brings back such nostalgia to the game, in my opinion. You know, it's one thing you always did in every single Gran Turismo. You didn't in GT Sports. Obviously, you just got given sort of a start car. But this time, you are going to buy a car. Now, I can relate this more to a family member of mine who, I think it was Gran Turismo 4 when he really started playing. He bought the Toyota Yaris in that game. And he's always been fond of that ever since, because it reminds him of playing Gran Turismo 4. So I think, especially for new people to the game, I do like the fact that they've brought that nostalgia with it. I think that's awesome and really, really well done. So big shout out for bringing it sort of back to the people in some extent in terms of Gran Turismo. Next up is another like. It's the difficulty setting. And brilliantly, they've made it so that you don't get any additional rewards for the difficulty setting. It's just all about giving you your own experience. So if you are not the greatest drivers in the world, your first time playing Gran Turismo, first time playing a racing game, brilliant. You've got easy there. You can select easy and you can experience the game that way. When you feel a bit more confident, you can up it 1 and up it to 2. Now, it does only go up to 2 peppers, weirdly. Where's my third pepper? I want my third pepper. So maybe that's because GT Sophie will come in the future. Do let me know if you want to have a video on GT Sophie. I know Falconers has asked for that. It was planned originally before Gran Turismo 7, but I'll certainly talk about GT Sophie and what I've seen and what I feel about it going forward. But a third pepper would be nice, or fourth, or fifth, or we can just amplify it even more. But maybe they're, maybe that's for GT Sophie, and that's what they're waiting for with that. So maybe a future, it's coming in an update. Maybe that's the future update with the peppers and difficulty. But good thing that difficulty setting, because we never had that really in Gran Turismo before. Now we have it. It's brilliant stuff. Right, we now have a super like. It's like Tinder, this, isn't it? A super duper like this. Licenses. Oh my word. I think the difficulty of these is very acceptable. They can't really make a license for me. And that sounds big-headed, I know, but they can't make a license for me because I am going to do it quite quickly. Let's forget about S10 during all of this. But again, I did that, within, half an hour, 45 minutes or something like that. But even so, they can't make them for me. I think the licenses are an acceptable difficulty. Some of them are very easy, and most people will do them. First timers are going to spend a bit of time trying to get used to those licenses. Obviously, if you've been playing Gran Turismo Sport for a long time, you're going to find some of these licenses very, very, very easy. And that is fine. That is actually fine. What would be nice is to have, and somebody recommended this on another stream, having that difficulty of having a platinum just secretly hidden there, an extra time. So gold is, completed, done, you will get all the prizes, but platinum just gives that little bit extra to chase for. Maybe that could be added to the game. But even so, I think they're very acceptable in terms of difficulty. I looked at one stream of a player who was streaming it before it came out, to be honest. However, the one thing that was awesome to see, and this was the trial mounting one specifically, is that their driving improved massively. So at the start, they were struggling so much, and they built that confidence. They learned how to drive the car, they learned how to drive the corner, and they improved and carried on improving, which is what the licenses are for. So they're really well done. It's really good, and it's really, really, really nice to see. And as I mentioned, the trial mounting thing here, you know, nostalgia. They put nostalgia licenses in there. So like the trial mounting one, that is literally in a lot of the Gran Turismo games previously. There's loads of these kind of licenses in there. That is superbly done. This is why it's a super like for me. The licenses, spot on. Seriously, really, really, really spot on. Now, we get to the menu book. Now, I put this as neutral because it's a little bit difficult in my book. So I'm just reading my notes a little bit here as well. I like the idea of 100%, like in the idea behind collecting cars and getting the history about them. I think that's done so well with the menu book. You know, it tells you a bit of the history about them, collecting GTRs, Ferraris, whatever it might be. Hey, by the way, where's the Audi collection? Where is the Audi collection? I do like that idea. However, it seemed to me the menu races, I'm going to specifically mention the menu races here, went a little bit repetitive. There was never really any sort of out there races, you know, really that tested your limits. Now, don't get me wrong, there was a couple of races that tested my limits in terms of difficulty, but I'm talking about wet weather, tyre wear, fuel usage. None of that seemed to be in the menu races. So to me, it sort of defeated the purpose. I would have liked to have seen the menu item potentially be a separate area, not the main career, in the fact that what you do is you go and collect the cars, and then there'd be a different career mode where you're going to the tournaments, you're going to the cups, etc. That would have been my preferred thing, I suspect, which is why it's neutral. As I say, collecting cars is nice. Learning about the history, very nice. I like that idea. I also, as well, it seems to have finished early. Like, when you do the number of missions, I won't say the number just in case somebody's just looking at this video before buying it. It seems to finish early. You only just get to race cars and then it stops. And you don't really experience the race cars. At no point did I experience Group 2 or Group 1 in that entirety of that championship or Formula cars either, which is odd. And the number it finished on is odd as well. And from what I've seen today, somebody's sent me some information. The missions that are missing, because it did add up to, I could say there's 50, I think it was. I'm trying not to spoil the other one, the amount. The ones that are missing are all race car based, which suggests to me that's where they are, and I'm not sure why that wasn't included. Be interesting to see if that's maybe in the future, maybe, I don't know, but from the information I've been given today and seen today, yeah, they're the ones that are missing, and it would make sense to finish on a nice number of 50, for example, rather than the number it does finish on. Right, next up, this is a super like. Now, this obviously is like the complete opposite of the menu book. It's the missions. These missions are so good. Oh my word! And I can't believe there's only 6, so I'm hoping more get added, and the increase in difficulty as well. So it's done really, really, really well. I love this bit. So the missions are massive in terms of positivity, because there's lots of different challenges in these missions, and there's some very, very interesting races in there as well. Why this isn't a part of the menu book, as that's the main campaign, I don't know, but oh my word, this is so good. So you've got overtake missions. Think back to some of the old footage from television where they're racing different levels of cars. They set off in different times, and you've got to catch them up in a faster car. So good. The overtake missions, just in general, very good. Slipstream missions. We have fuel missions. They're not as fun because some of them are just ridiculously easy, and some of them are just a bit tedious because you just sat there on tick over, rolling the car around. So they're not the greatest. But let's 180 that. The best thing in there are the longer races. We have some 30-minute races in there, 35 minutes. I think Uber was 36 or something like that, with changing weather conditions, with tyre wear, with fuel usage. There's strategy in there. You can see the AI actually make mistakes. You can see the AI picking what they should do, etc. Oh, those longer races are so good. We need more of those races in this game. We really do, because they are, I keep saying it, so good. The drift missions, they're all right. Some people will love them. Some people will not like them. I did them on the wheel initially and then went to the pad after my pedals broke and then stayed on the pad for the rest of them. because they are very hard on a wheel. It's much harder to catch a car on a wheel than it is on a pad. So there is a pad advantage for the drift missions, and maybe you want to go down that route. But even so, it's still enjoyable, you know. I did learn a lot with the Mustang, and you guys followed me through that. There's also the drag missions as well. Now, I think these are going to be very good, because what you can do is maybe you want to go and buy another car and just play with the setup and tune it in a certain way to then win at drag strips. So good. So good, these drag missions. So, yeah, superb. Absolutely, hands down, super like missions. I think missions are probably the best part of what we've talked about so far, to be honest with you. There's one more thing which is slightly better. We'll get onto that in just a second. Now, speaking of the missions, let's talk about the physics then, because that is kind of critical to everybody. Now, I do like the new physics. However, and I'm going to say however, there's too much snap oversteer, or too much oversteer in general in the cars. They're just a bit too much. Now, I don't know whether that's because of other parts of the physics, which we'll talk about in a second, but I have the perfect example. I drive a Nissan 370Z as my daily driver in real life. I have that car. I can go out, I can have a little bit of play on a British B road, and it doesn't really want to oversteer. It will oversteer at lower speeds when you put your foot down and you want to get power oversteer. At higher speeds, I've never really lost the car at any point ever, even being a bit of a donut going around some corners. Never really lost it, going a bit too far in terms of trying to go around the corner at X amount of speed. The car will more understeer than oversteer. Unless you're doing some Scandinavian flick, of course, and weight transfer, etc. However, in GT7, it feels like the cars just want to oversteer. I drove the 370Z. I'm going around the corner. It just goes out. It just instantly goes out. It doesn't do that in real life. And yes, traction control's on in real life. The light would come on the dash if it was using it. It doesn't use it. You can tell when the car's using the traction control. It's nowhere near this oversteery. So it's a little bit weird why it's so oversteery, and why I only just like the physics. But it definitely needs improvement there with oversteer. And it's the same with other cars as well, especially the MR cars with the weight transfer. The rear seems to come out so easy. So I think there's a little bit of work to do there in terms of the physics. But there is definitely an improvement. It's just that something being exceptionally hard because it's constantly oversteering isn't necessarily realistic. Something being exceptionally hard, yeah. Let's not go there. Let's bring it back a little bit. Let's make it a bit more real in terms of the oversteer. And I think they've run to a winning formula here. They really are. Aerodynamics, just to that part of the physics, that seems to be done exceptionally well. And I'm not sure whether that's what the problem is here. That the road cars obviously don't have as much aero as, let's say, a GT3 car, or some of the Formula cars, or the the LMP1 cars. They honestly, the aero works awesome in this game. It really does. So I'm not sure whether that's the problem at the moment. Aero is working well, and to make sure the road race cars are working well, the road cars are affected. I don't know. I'm not the game developer, so I think that's something to do with it. Braking, by the way, the braking physics are awesome. So as you get to the end of a braking phase, it's much harder to slow the car down. That's when ABS kicks in, and you can see that on the game. It's done so well. It is really done well. That's all I can say. It's done so well. The last part of the braking phase, very realistic, very simulated, very good. Now we're going to get on to the thing that I like the most about Gran Turismo 7, and I think it's been done in an exceptional manner. This is a super duper like. This is like, oh my word, 10 out of 10. Well done. It's wet weather. Wet weather and the weather transitions as a whole. It has been done so good, and it's exceeded my expectations, like through the roof. Absolutely through the roof. Okay? The way the weather comes in, you've got a wet weather radar, you can see it coming in. You're not necessarily being given a time, you just see it slowly coming in. You can see the different strengths of rain potentially happening on the circuit. It has been done beautifully. Absolutely beautifully. A huge shout out to Gran Turismo, the PD team. I was expecting Gran Turismo 6 wet weather, where you have a number and you just relate the number to the tyres you should be on. And yes, you have that indicator down in the bottom left, but there are dry lines, there are wet lines. You, if you're on wet tyres, can go to the wet line to keep the tyres lasting longer, that little bit longer. So maybe you're waiting for the dry weather to come a bit later on in the race. Go to that wet side of the circuit, keep the tyres cool, keep them fresh, let them last that little bit longer. Done beautifully. Honestly, I can't even say anything more than that. It's done beautifully. You've got to look for the drying line when there is a drying line. There's a good license test with that S10. Oh my word, it teaches us so well, making sure you're on dry tyres, stay on the dry part of the track. You touch the wet part, you're understeering to the realms of Narnia. Superb. Oh yeah, and entering and exiting the pits. So lethal. So let's just say there's a drying line and you think, right, I need to go on the dry tyres there, it'd be faster. But as you leave the pits, obviously it's not dry there, it's wet. So it's so sketchy getting to that dry line. Oh. Yes. My goodness. Now the AI do need to improve with the wet weather. I don't think they fully understand it themselves, or how it's programmed, of course, because they'll come in for some sort of weird tyres and then not realise and then want to change again, and that it struggles coming out the pits. So the AI probably needs some work around the wet weather, but as a overall, it is awesome. Oh yeah, I've written puddles down. The puddles! You've got to avoid puddles! It's so good. So you've got to avoid the curbs because that's where the puddles are sitting. Touch them, you'll spin. There's aquaplaning. Oh, yeah, super duper light. You can tell I like it. The wet weather is God mode in this game, and I think other games who are trying to develop the wet weather are going to look at this and be like, this has been done very well. We need to up our game. So good. Next up then, of course, we've talked about the weather transition. We have day-night transitions. I will get that out there. Now, this, again, is done superbly well. There is some glorious-looking racing in there, you know, with the sun coming up, the morning mist, you can see that across the valleys at Dragon Trail, for example. The sun setting, you know, the light changing, lights coming on at Daytona, the fireworks at night at Daytona. Very well done, very good. However, I do have one question. How do I know what time it is when I race? Because I can't see it. So just say you are racing round, and we know there are tire temperatures in the game, so there's tire wear, for example, at the Daytona race I did very recently. How do I know how cold or warm my tires are? And then how do I know whether I should wait that little bit longer, then come in and have a really fresh, nice set of, you know, warm tires, because I don't know the time of day? Now, I feel like that's something missing off the UI, so hopefully that does get added. It is quite frustrating to know that, but yeah, it would be useful. Let's put it that way, because I'd like to know at 1 a.m. it's probably very cold compared to 1 p.m. in the afternoon, even though it's a clear day on both sides. Next thing I like, the characters. So you experience the characters mainly through the menu book. Maybe this should have been a bit earlier on, I'm not too sure. But I think the characters add a really unique flavour to the game. Now, I knew about the characters, obviously, as you're very well aware, because I'm in the game. How would I not know about it if I'm in the game? I remember having the photos taken. And I'm not saying they're very well done just because I'm in it, by the way. I know people be like, it's because you're in it, Tiz, yeah, you're a character. But I think it's awesome. It gives you a bit of relation to some of the drivers you may have watched over the past few years with the live events, the esports competitions. You get to race those drivers. Maybe you want to send them to the realm, like I tried to send myself off to the realms quite a few times. But you can learn about the drivers as well. You know, they teach you about the drivers. So for me, as you know, I like cups of tea. It mentions tea with me. It talks about my resilience. You know that I will always try and get to the end of a race, irrespective of what has happened. If something bad happens in qualifying, I then think of the positives that can happen in a race. It's put that in my character. How do they know this? They asked us a number of questions, and they've taken the answers to those questions and put them into a very nice format. You can learn about the other competitors as well. I've learned a lot about some of the other competitors, especially Cockabun. I've learned loads about Cockabun, you know, with the ships, etc. It is so good. And on top of all of that, I think it gives you a bit more sense of competition with the AI. You go, oh yes, I beat Tidge, I beat Grady, or you know, I beat Fraga, or I beat Hizal, rather than it just being Joe Blogs in the AI. It is done very well, and the way the characters are presented, very well done, you know. He's put me in Audi, for example. You know I love Audi. Maybe go check out the clip channel for my Audi reaction. Or I might have it on in the background, I'm not too sure. But I go mental when I win the Audi R8, for example. So it's nice to put that all together, you know. Double H's, Integrale, he loves that car. He's in the Integrale. How good's that? Absolutely superb. So the characters are well done. Now, we've had a lot of likes here. We're going to a dislike now, which is the online. Currently, online, I've put seems a tad broken. It is a tad broken in terms of online racing here on Gran Turismo. So we'll start with Race B. Race B has already been tampered with. There's ways to get around the PP limit, the horsepower limit. Sorry, it's a horsepower limit for Deep Forest from memory. They completely got around it, so rules are already being broken. And people will always find ways to break the rules. They can be fixed, and it is a fixable part of the game to do that. So, yeah, already broken, which is unfortunate. So, you know, it's broken at the moment, as I said, with online. Now, we're going to talk about Daily Race A, because that one isn't necessarily broken, but what we have is the setup issue. So, tuning and setups. Should they be allowed in daily races? We did a vote on this, and hopefully the vote is on screen, throughout a 12-hour stream period. So there should be something for tuning and setups. That's very clear to me based on that vote. People want it, but also people want it without it, and that was the majority of the vote. So there should be both on there. Maybe make Daily Race A the tunable race and allow them to do whatever they want with that, with the road car that they get given, or maybe give them that PP and say, pick whatever road car you like. That can be Daily Race A. Daily Race B, C, whatever else, D, F, Z, whatever you want to call it in terms of daily races. We can have a mixture of both. So have the ones that are just bop, the ones that are no setup, no tuning, that have maybe setup and a bop. And then we have potentially no tuning, no setup, no bop, and you just pick a car for the horsepower limit. You know, doing stuff like that. But there definitely needs to be no tuning, no setup races as well as the tuning and setup one. There definitely needs to be that based on that vote that I've shown you as well. Let's talk about lobbies. Lobbies are completely broken at the moment. There's lots of problems with lobbies. I'm a bit unsure why they exist, because surely it's just a port over from GT Sport. Seems a bit bizarre to me, that. But maybe there's some extra things they're planning on doing in terms of those lobbies. But they're not working the best at the moment. You can't change settings once you've made a lobby. Yeah, it's not the greatest situation at the moment. A lot of custom races and leagues that people were organising have already been cancelled because of the significance of this. I don't even believe there's qualifying in the lobbies, which makes me wonder how early in the development GT7 started from GT Sport, and maybe they took the lobbies from that point. This seems a bit, broken. Broken's the best word. It's a dislike at the moment, but hopefully fixable. Now, I've talked about tuning and setups. I'm going to talk about tuning here as one separate thing, excuse me. I do like tuning. I think car customization is brilliant. I really can't wait to tune a 370Z, see what I can do with what I potentially could do with my car in real life. I think it's really good. There's one caveat to that. They need to make engine swaps more realistic. You can only engine swap a car if you win the engine. And there's other tuning parts as well with that same problem. I think it's the carbon propeller shaft is also only winnable. Only winnable items, a bit of an issue to me because you may never win them. And I'm going to get to that now with my dislike, the roulette. The roulette has gotten worse. I don't know how it could have gotten worse. It's daily roulette or roulette prizes. There is no fun in just constantly winning the lowest prize or getting duplicates of something. So let me explain this a bit more as well. So it's random, but now we have RNG on top of RNG on top of RNG. So some of the cars you can only collect if you get invited to win those cars. So for example, I got an Aston Martin invitation. I feel it necessary to earn enough credits to buy the Aston Martins. I've already bought the Vulcan, which was 3.3 million. I just have to buy the 177 now. And I've also got a Citroen invite, which I have no idea where that came from, but hey, we'll got the invite, we'll buy the car. Even so, let me go back to RNG. Let's just say you really want the Ferrari FXXK. There is a chance you will never, ever, 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 in the entirety of the game's history going forward, be able to buy that Ferrari in its current form. Ever. Because you've got the RNG first for the level of ticket you get. Once you've done the game, you only get the daily roulette ticket. That could be any level. You then got the RNG inside of the ticket. So it's going to pick several prizes that you could win. There are lots of car invitations in there. So you got RNG for the car invitations in itself. I've never seen the Ferrari one, for example. You then have the RNG of the prizes inside the ticket of the RNG of the level of the ticket. So we've got a random level for the ticket. We then got a random set of prizes within inside that ticket. And then we've got a random win on that ticket. So that's 3 out of 3 out of 3. So that could be... So we've got 6 levels as far as we're aware. There's 6 prizes that you could win. And then I don't know inside that how many... The astronomical odds of getting exactly what you want there from the roulette. So as I say, there is a chance You may never win that Ferrari FXXK unless there's another way to win it. Get that invitation somehow. I haven't seen it yet. May never get it. That is a dislike from me. Nearly a super dislike, but just a dislike for now because that's something that can change. I also dislike the very few credits you can earn. Now, I did a video yesterday on quick money. That will be at the end of the video if you want to get the fastest ways to earn money in this game. But I feel like I'm always scared to use credits. The Aston Martin Vulcan I bought for 3.3 million. I'm very, very, very scared to use credits in terms of buying cars. And yeah, to earn them, you're going to have to do lots of the same race. So obviously the best race at the moment is Fisherman's Ranch. It's been done in under 3 minutes now. I saw Saika do that in 2 minutes 54, I believe. You may have to do that race hundreds of times to even afford one car. One car. Now, I am a bit concerned that microtransactions have played a part of this. I've been dead against microtransactions in every game. I think it was done very well in GT Sport in the fact that you could buy the car literally from the store if you wanted to, or just buy the car with credits. I think that was fine, perfectly reasonable. However, it feels a bit restricted in terms of the credits for that. I'm hoping that's not the case. I'm hoping that's not the reason behind it, and it's just a Gran Turismo thing where it is a lot more limited. But I want to put this into your mind. 20 million credit car. There are several of these in the game. There's not just one. At the moment, if you just bought the credits via microtransactions, which obviously if you're trying to collect all the cars you may end up wanting to do, one 20 million pound car is £160. I'll put dollars on the screen somewhere for you. £160. That is expensive. Now there are several 20 million pound cars. We could be getting very close here to £700-800. That is very significant if you want to collect the cars. Very significant. Or you can spend hundreds of hours doing the same dirt race, whatever it might be, over and over and over again to get to that point. I'm not too sure about this. As I say, it's a dislike for me at the moment. Hopefully, better ways of earning credits come in the future. For example, the Lewis Hamilton DLC was a perfect example of this. Done very well, very good, and hopefully that does happen. Now, we're getting towards the end of this now. Graphics, I like, obviously. It's a big like there. Spectacular graphics. I didn't actually realise, like, the improvement until I went and did my GT Sport Weekly Race Guide this week. The improvement is immense. I didn't even realise they couldn't improve it anymore, and they'd have. Like, it blows my mind, really. It looks so good. However, there's one caveat to this. There are some FPS issues in some places in the game. When it rains and there's lots of cars on your screen at the same time, struggles a little bit. Struggles at Trial Mountain with the dirt on the inside, I've noticed. So there are definitely areas that need to improve in terms of getting better frame rates there. And remember, I'm on a PS5 with frame rate mode enabled. I'm on the performance side of it. I'm not on for the quality, the pure graphics side. It looks very good. However, frame rate mode is the one I've selected, and it does still struggle in certain places. So it does need to be improved. Speaking of Trial Mountain, super duper like, or maybe just a like here actually, not super duper like, we'll just like. The sounds have been improved again, and the sounds are awesome in some places. I have particular love for the gear shift noise that you experience in some of the race cars. It sounds very nice, just that clunk into gear. And then also, I mean, the 787B at Trial Mountain, when we heard that, oh, so good. Unbelievably so. Right, let's get to the overall then. So to me, overall, it is a good game. And do you know what? When you look at games nowadays that come out, they're normally bugged to high hell and atrocious in many ways. Some people struggling to play them at all, with horrendous bugs in there. I can think of No Man's Sky, Cyberpunk, what else? Can't think of any other games off the top of my head. But, the games are renowned, or unknown, not renowned. They are known for bugs when they come out now. And I would argue Gran Turismo, especially the first part of the game, the first 3/4 of the game, is very well polished, very well done, and fair play to Gran Turismo on that. So if you are after just an offline experience, GT7 is worth it. It's definitely worth it in terms of a game. However, if you're still playing GT Sport right now and all you want is online play, I would stay with GT Sport for now. Until everything is fixed, I don't feel like this game would be for you right now. You will need to wait. The physics are going to be very different for you. So if you want to learn the physics, fine, buy the game. However, if you're after just the online experience, the competitive racing, the competitive side of it, and you don't want the setups and tuning, at the moment, the game is definitely not for you, but let's get setups and tuning. At the moment, still, it's a struggle to get some decent racing out there. And that's my overview and overall review of GT7. Hopefully that didn't go on for too long. I have no idea how long that went on for. 30 minutes, pretty much bang on. So there we have it. I say I do hope you've enjoyed this video. That is all my likes and dislikes. Overall, you can see the count above my head. I haven't done it personally, but that is it for this video. Do give it a like if you have liked the video. Subscribe to the channel. There's loads of GT7 content to come. And make sure you send me to the realm if you race my character in GT7. Not me specifically, just my character. But as I say, that is it. And there are 2 videos on screen there for you. Do check them out, including the quick money video and the other video that is there. But as I say, do like the video on your way out. Subscribe to the channel. That is it for me now, folks. Au revoir, farewell, have a good day or evening, morning, wherever you are in the world.